Hello and welcome to Capitol Review. I'm Mark Hall. In Washington, D.C., crews are reconstructing the Black Lives Matter Plaza. Work to remove the mural started this week. The plaza is north of the White House, and it was designed in 2020 after the murder of George Floyd. It has been a gathering spot for many local justice demonstrations. There are concerns about the mural being removed.
Destruction. I'm here to mourn the destruction of one of our brightest symbols of the black resistance.
It breaks my heart because it also reminds me that there's an attempt to erase the history of who we are.
D.C.'s Department of Transportation says the removal process will take around 8 weeks. Joining us now is Cheyanne Daniels. She is the race and politics reporter with our media partners at The Hill. Cheyanne, welcome back to Capitol Review.
Morning.
You know, we know that President Trump strongly encouraged Mayor Bowser to remove the Black Lives Matter Plaza. I'm sure you've talked to people. What's been the reaction, and is the reaction differ based on who you talk to?
I think there's a lot of disappointment around this. Remember that Black Lives Matter Plaza was put up following the murder of George Floyd in 2020, following the massive global protests against police brutality and its disproportionate effect on black and brown people. And at the time, you know, Mayor Bowser sort of put it in as a sort of a message to then President Donald Trump in his first term for his stance against Black Lives Matter, and she said it would become permanent. So there's just, it seems like a lot of disappointment that it's being taken away at this point in time. But folks are also saying that the message of Black Lives Matter, that the movement of Black Lives Matter is more than just a brick and mortar sort of thing, that it is a permanent conversation, that it is a permanent movement that will continue until we see changes throughout our legislation and our culture.
Well, Cheyanne, the president thanked black voters for his support soon after he was reelected. There have been reports that advisors close to them have floated the idea of pardoning Derek Chauvin, the former police officer who is responsible for the death of George Floyd. So far, the president has shot that down. But what message does that send, especially to black voters, if that's something that the president would even consider?
Yeah, this message or this idea of pardoning Derek Chauvin, the former police officer who was convicted of murdering George Floyd, was really floated or came to light, particularly when conservative podcaster Ben Shapiro started talking about it on his show. And then we saw Elon Musk sort of float the idea as well on his social media platform X, saying it would be something to think about. But we heard from the Minneapolis AG where he said, you know, this would be an insult. This is an affront and offensive to not just the Floyd family, but to everybody who's experienced police brutality, regardless of their race. And he also said that it's offensive to police departments that have done so much work since 2020 to be able to rebuild trust with the communities that they are part of.
Again, we had mentioned a short time ago that the president did thank the black voters for their support. So far, in the early part of his second term, what steps has he taken that is positively impacting black communities?
So let's say the first thing, or the one thing that has really stood out, has been his pardon czar. He has assigned this individual who was formerly incarcerated to take a look at who is up for pardoning or commutations, things of that nature. And we know that incarceration and the criminal justice system negatively, disproportionately impact Black Americans and other Americans of color. So I would say that's the first step that he's taken. But other than that, we haven't seen anything quite explicit just yet.
And Cheyanne, talk about Mayor Bowser. She's clearly in a tough spot. She really has to toe the line.
Absolutely. So we know that Mayor Bowser and the president did not get along very well, as many Democrats did not during the president's first term. But as you mentioned, she's a very fine line to walk here, right? A majority of residents in the district voted for Vice President Kamala Harris in 2024, but Donald Trump is the president. And there's still this fight to have home rule. There's still this fight for D.C. to be a state, and she has to be able to have a relationship not just with the president, but with the Republicans in Congress as well. And so it's just a very fine balancing act that she has to do to serve her constituents in a very blue city at a time when Democrats are not in control of any branch of government.
Cheyanne Daniels, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Mark.